Hello, welcome to CLSP Politics. We're going to talk a little bit more about the taxes in the OBBB. It's worth talking about. I want to go in a little bit more detail about what some of the different aspects of it really mean. But what's interesting is they're always talking about how these tax cuts are supposed to help the middle class. And I found an interesting poll. It's a bit dated, but it is interesting how people view themselves and in what class that they think they're in. So let me blow this up for you. So as you can see, lower is dark gray, uh, gray is working, middle is kind of a yellow, you got a slightly darker green, and then you got really dark green, considered upper. I'm not quite sure why anyone thought they were upper class, anything under $250,000, but there were a few. But really, it's kind of interesting where people see themselves. Basically, everyone under the 100,000 is working class. Everyone under the 100,000 is working class. Then you start getting into middle class as you go above that to 150 to 240, 250 and 250 and above. But even 250 and above is probably just upper middle. Yet they think they're upper class. I mean, this is based on 2016 data, so you can adjust for inflation 10 years ago. But still, all about money, a lot of this hasn't changed. Anyway, I thought this was kind of interesting as we talk about the taxes. So the enhanced child tax credit, it basically boosts it a few $100s. That's for the year. I think they put that in there so they could say, oh, we raised the child tax credit. That didn't really do anything. The state and local tax deduction, that's pretty legit. And they didn't want to put that in there, but they had to, because the blue state Republicans were like, we've got to have that in. That's what we ran on. So that was actually probably their only promise they made when they were running for office. And they got it. So there you go. And then immediate deduction was, for equipment and research. This is for businesses, and it's retroactive. Quite the giveaway, if you ask me. Then the enhanced deduction for senior citizens, temporarily boost senior citizen deduction. It's a temporary thing to $6,000 household income, but there are lots of limits that apply. So this was something that they can say that probably doesn't have the exact same impact that they were anticipating. No tax on overtime, up to 12,500, which is great for working class people. Problem is, as I talked about in my previous video, it's cut short. It's not infinite like the 2017 tax cuts for the millionaires and billionaires. It's a short-term, measure that I'm sure they'll run on, doing it again and doing it again, trying to keep just throwing crumbs at people. All auto loan interest deductions. They can deduct up to $10,000 in an annual interest on loans for new cars, but household incomes limits apply. So if you make too much, then probably not going to get that. And quite honestly, you've got to be making some pretty good money in order to really have a new car these days anyway. And as the economy begins to tank, and there's data on that in a future video, that's going to be an issue. Then you've got the immediate deduction for new manufacturing facilities, also giant business giveaway. Real quick, like and subscribe if you wish to support this channel. PayPal, CLSP Politics. Then we've got no tax on tips, which is temporary, allows certain workers to deduct up to $25,000 in tip income. Household income limits apply, so that's kind of interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with household income. I mean, so I have a lot of friends from Austin that work in the service industry, and they're roommates because it's impossible to afford anything in Austin. Would all of their incomes apply? I don't know. So that'll be interesting to see how all that plays out. Well, we'll see. Then, of course, then there's the big 2017 tax cuts making those permanent. So the reason they did that is because in order to fix the deficit now, we have to raise taxes, but we're not really raising taxes. We're getting rid of the 2017 tax cut. That's what they're going to have to do by 2030, 2032. There's no way we can maintain a $3 to $4 trillion, deficit like that, just folding in on itself. It's unsustainable. And honestly, it's not even a tax cut. So tax cuts only work. Here, let me. It's a tax cut is something that happens as you reduce costs. So you reduce the costs and reduce the tax cut. They didn't do that. They reduced the taxes and created more, debt. So all it is really is a transfer of debt to future generations. It's not a tax cut. Calling this thing a tax cut is just the biggest mistake that people can make. It is absolutely not a tax cut. What it is a tax increase on my children and my grandchildren. That's what it is. It's not a tax cut. And anyone who tells you that is trying to sell you something. So federal contributions for Trump accounts for kids. This thing just reeks. For one thing, it's limited in time. 2028 is when it expires. So you just gotta go, okay. And it's only for kids born between 25 and 28. And they can contribute up to $5,000 annually. Yeah, this isn't really a solution to anything. I don't know. This was something they could put in just to say they did it. It just doesn't solve any problems. So who the tax cuts really benefit? Well, remember all those people that thought they were middle class but are actually, making under $25,000 in the first graph I showed you? Yeah, their taxes pretty much either stay the same or they end up paying more. And by 2027, they are paying more. So that's no good. Same with if you're making under 40,000. Basically, anyone under 40,000 before the presidential cycle in 2027, when all those in my previous show, when I talked about all the things that they term limited a bunch of tax help for poor and middle class people. Well, as you can see in all of that just drops off. But what's interesting is you get higher when you get, people making over, 3.4, when they start making, millions of dollars, weirdly, their taxes don't go to negative. They don't start paying more tax. They still get their huge benefit. Very, very strange how that worked out. But, and there's a whole bunch of moron Republicans out there that literally voted for this thing because they're just playing it out for 2020, 2025. And by 2027, it's going to be a nothing. And honestly, $360 for anyone making under 40K, it's $1 a day. That's nothing. In today's economy, it's a joke. It doesn't make and keep in mind, inflation will outpace all of that. The only thing that inflation's probably not going to outpace is if you're making 306,000 or more. So good luck. This is a bad deal for America, bad deal for my children, bad deal for my grandchildren, bad deal generally speaking. We're going to end up paying for this big time. Well, thank you again for listening. Like and subscribe. If you wish to support this channel, check me out, PayPal, CLSP Politics. The link's on my page. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.